Welcome to Spacebar. I'm Nick Gregorio, and I'm joined, as always, by our resident barfly, Rico, and our special guest, Cooper Hagen.
He's dressed up for the occasion, everybody.
This is all that I have. This is the only sweater I own.
All right, Phil, what do we got?
3 days in a row.
So we're talking about the RetroEngine Sigma. Which sounds super fake, by the way, but it's a little machine in the vein of a RetroPie or Raspberry Pi or a NES Classic that is supposedly.
Would you liken it to a 99-cent store?
Well, hold on. Let's talk about.
Sounds
what
like an
it is
anime from the early '80s.
It's a little box with a little Linux-based computer in it that's gonna supposedly let you emulate 28 different systems, including N64 games. And it's depending on
What's the biggest line of bullshit though that it sells?
Well, it's on a Kickstarter right now, and if you got there early, you could nab one for $50, or now it's $60 because those early ones sold out.
How about that 4K media?
4K media. I am.
You have to set that up yourself, so
Yeah, I'm a big pessimist.
You have to buy a computer with a 4K graphics card and then attach it to it.
I'm selling the fuck out of this thing. I'm not saying that it can't emulate and do all those old games like the NES Classic or Super Nintendo or Genesis, but when you start getting up to the stuff like PS1 and N64, I don't know if this thing's gonna have the horsepower. Because a Raspberry Pi is $35, right? And that doesn't have the case, doesn't have the memory card, doesn't come with the cables. This thing is like $25 more and cures cancer and does all these things and supposedly.
Well, and it comes with like 3 controllers, doesn't it? Doesn't
No,
it have 2 controller options, like an old school PS?
No, it doesn't come with any controllers. It's just
you can any of the old controllers will work. Like, or it's got to have a USB hookup.
So, Coop, you are a resident Raspberry Pi eater.
Yeah,
pie eating contest winner.
There it is.
So you foxed with a Raspberry Pi. What do you think? Do you think it's possible what they're claiming, just for your knowledge?
I'll bet there's people out there that'll get it to work. I don't know if like just with the specs it comes with, like you may have to crack it open and break it a little bit to get it to do that. I have a Raspberry Pi, the latest model. I just got it last spring. I think it's the 3. And I got it thinking that it would do the N64 and do it justice. And I can play N64 ROMs, but I can't
at 23 frames.
I can't do it. Yeah, I can't do it properly. It's crap. I've even overclocked it. I've never put a casing on it or anything like that. I've never put a fan on it or anything like that. Then
Cooper
you start
just has one of those black church fans that he waves it at the whole time.
I mean, honestly, like. The people that are getting it to work like that, the Raspberry Pi, and maybe the people that'll get this to work, you can augment it somehow to do it. But I don't think that it's going to play like N64. I don't think it's going to play like Dreamcast or anything. That's what RetroPie claimed it would do.
I want to buy it just for the fact that I hope it does work. But when you tell me it's a 4K media hub, I got to call bullshit on that. Because any graphics card, any graphics processor that has a 4K input-output, they're at least, what? $300?
Yeah, I mean, what they're
$300
doing
minimum? I mean, that's not even a good one?
The guts on this thing, I was looking at the chipset they have, and it's these like really bizarre, like Japanese Skype set-top box machines that are like, I mean, the thing is like, it has half a gig of RAM and a weird processor I've never heard of, and not back to what you started with, Nick, it looks like a Sega Genesis, but like one you'd see in a dream. You know what I mean? You had a dream, you got a Genesis, you're like, why is this silver and tiny and funny looking?
I'm holding firm to either the like 99-cent store Dollar Tree, like buy this super mega gaming hub.
Yeah.
It's
like an air freshener.
It's
Yeah. That is one cool thing about it versus something like, I guess, the Raspberry Pi. Is like it looks kind of neat. Like it looks like a Sega, like that's all chromed out and stuff. Yeah, but like
sold at a Mexican dollar store. Yeah.
And I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's something where for $60 or whatever you end up getting yours for. Like if you want to buy that and like load it up with some ROMs and give it to somebody like as a gift, like maybe that'd be kind of cool. I'm not a huge fan of the NES Mini. I think you guys kind of like that more than I do. I would maybe buy this over the NES Mini.
I think I like the flexibility of the Pi. This seems to be a step in between to where it's like it has a case. Because when you buy Raspberry Pi, it's just a motherboard. It's like, here you go, nerd. You have to get your own case. You have to make your own image. And you have to basically build this thing from scratch.
Right.
And there's tons of guides.
Going back to the NES Mini, I will say this. I got to spend like a weekend with it, like a holiday weekend over Thanksgiving. The games are
By the way, you
emulated.
sounded like a divorced father.
Yeah,
I
sounded
got
like-
to spend a weekend with the NES Classic, and he's great. I
yeah,
love
the
him.
classic. But anyway, the games are emulated properly. I think it's a great library of games. It was fun, but that fun wore off quickly.
Yeah.
And without having the ability to expand or download new games, I don't know. I don't know how many. Some of those titles, even though they are fun, they're kind of hard to get into now. Like truth be told, I didn't play the original Legend of Zelda. Now trying to get into it I didn't have that game. You know what it was? You only got so many games a year. If you didn't get that game, you just didn't get it.
Right.
I mean, here's my kind of Twilight Zone take on it, and I'm a guy who's been dicking around with emulators, and you have like an endless supply of games. But if you're just like by yourself, a lot of stuff's not fun.
I needed another person to play with me for a lot of
I mean, again, playing Street Fighter 2, the Champion Edition, the arcade version against the CPU is awesome to a point. And playing, digging up a nostalgic game and playing it, or it's even some shit you've never played before. It wears thin quickly unless you have a buddy to bounce it off of or four people.
Yeah, to take turns. Those games are fun, like taking turns with, because they're very grating. When you die, you start over at the beginning of
20 minutes back.
Yeah,
like 20 like Ninja Gaiden is like,
it really
cool.
tests your patience.
that's a
they're
good
like,
one.
okay, you hit continue, and you're like, wait, I'm at the start world. Even in Mario 2, I forgot that when you hit continue, they take you all the way back to the first.
Yeah, it's like
1-1 or 2-1.
Yeah, you can continue playing the game from the beginning. So,
Yeah, now when they do that in a game, it's called like Dark Souls, and it like just it becomes known for that, and it's like no, every game used to be that way.
Yeah, I think that's what happened whenever I go back and play an NES game, and it's hard and it fucking scorches me, and I'm like, have I lost the ability to play these games? But I don't think I have. I think back then when I was a kid, I had the time where I could just play it for 4 hours
of free time
and learn it and just like.
And you only had 4
grinding.
games. You only had 4 games. It's not.
You had no other choice. You had
know,
to get good at that. You had to keep failing, otherwise, like it was a waste.
I
Of
mean, I
whatever,
played
a birthday
Bayou
present.
Billy because that was just one of the games, and it's probably one of the worst games. But when that's all you have, you're
I
like,
don't know.
I'm
You turn
gonna
it on,
figure
it
this
goes,
out.
Well,
On the topic of Nintendo, just real quick, I want
Yeah.
to pivot over to this. We found out that Nintendo sent out an RFP to hackers.
No, they put out a bug bounty for the 3DS, and they're looking for people to try to find exploits and bugs on the OS level and system level, and to break the processor and all this stuff, basically to see if people can hack this thing for any reason whatsoever.
Is
And
this the end of the 3DS? I mean, this is Nintendo's moneymaker. This is their constant through all the turbulent times of their consoles.
yeah.
Are they saying goodbye 3DS, hello Switch?
Well, yeah, the speculation is that they're going to stop issuing software updates for the 3DS. So they're basically offering up freelance hackers to say, hey, see if you can find any bugs in this current version of the software, and then they're going to offer probably one more update and then be like, see ya, so they can still get, kind of a revenue stream from, still selling games, but not have to worry about them getting cracked like earlier versions of some of their portables.
So if that's the case, then so now it looks like because it's portable and it's sort of a hybrid the Switch is. So all their portable gaming going to be going over to the Switch. We think.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
I mean, because they're announcing other systems now for to go on to Switch through Virtual Console.
Yeah,
Right, the
just
game
old
keys,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it was just this morning, or it was originally reported, I think, by Eurogamer months ago, but now it's starting to get picked up by other outlets that on the Virtual Console of the Switch, you're going to be able to play GameCube games finally. So that's something
Pretty
that.
awesome.
So
Dope
yeah, on the
library
topic
there.
of emulation and things like this, I don't know. Apparently, there's still a market for that. I think that's. I know that Super Smash. I'm not into esports, but I know Super Smash Brothers. Melee is still they even touted that in the Switch commercial, it's going to be an esports
I
sort of
know-
machine and play into that. So
Going back into even the older library, some of the N64 stuff with the wrestling games like No Mercy or the Japanese equivalent Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, we've heard rumblings WWE did a vote. What was the game that needed to be kind of reinvigorated? And maybe it's on the Switch that we see kind of that current WWE roster in that old school wrestling game that everyone loves. So
It could be, and again, I can't speak for everybody, but back in the day when I was poor and young and you try to find downloads of stuff, it's if you make this stuff available, I was always like, I will pay for TV without commercials, and now you can on iTunes and Amazon and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, if you make these games available, I think people will pay for them.
Yeah.
Again, it's frustrating if for every Nintendo system if you have to keep buying, Super Mario Brothers for that virtual console. But if it can kind of be, if in that ecosystem, if it can be a one-in and you spend $5 or $3 on a game, I think licensing is probably the holdup on a lot of those. Like, I want to play Ninja Kid. That's a really weird, obscure game, but I'd pay $5 for that. But I don't know if other people would. But if they could on the Switch, if they could open up that whole like NES library, I think that'd be a very smart thing.
That'd be dope. I hope the Switch comes in at a $250 price tag. At that price tag, I think it's a solid system. You're going to go for it. The specs aren't there. The hardware's not there. But again, as a nostalgia machine, as of kind of like a video game library that you can tap into, and it's portable. I have a daughter. I have a wife. The TV gets monopolized a lot of the times. If I could play real games, like fully fleshed out games on a sort of portable experience, that makes it a lot easier for me.
And I think part of it too is, I know that they have virtual console on stuff, and you can play older games if you had like an old Game Boy Advance run or something. But if you could have a huge library on a small thing, that's why like there's these stupid emulators for like Android and I don't even know if they're for iOS anymore. But you can't play it on the screen. You can have your phone in your pocket, that's cool, or you something in your bag. But if the Switch could have all Nintendo games, up through GameCube or a large
or the option
portion
to buy the ones
that's what I'm saying,
want,
and drop $5, $10 a pop. That could be a really cool thing to have where you can set it up, and I would have a easier time buying that really rose-colored version of rose-colored glasses version in the commercial where it's just adults in hotel rooms.
Right.
I don't want to play Skyrim. I'd rather play some old shitty game while I'm sitting in the bed and go, oh cool, flip a switch, I want to play something new.
Well, it's interesting with the success of the NES Mini from a Nintendo as a company standpoint. It's the same company that they hired to emulate those games on the NES Mini. It's the same company that's being reported that's going to be doing these GameCube Virtual Console releases. So they seem to have found something there. And we talk about them a lot as a brand. Just one last thing, maybe real quick. This idea, I think it was just last week, the official announcement was made that the Universal theme parks are doing the tie-in with the Nintendo brand and all their major theme parks. Is that something? I'm not a huge theme park guy, but I love Nintendo. Is that something that would get you guys out of the house to go experience it in person?
No, that's something I think I always felt that Nintendo's strong suit, that they needed to get almost not away from gaming, but expand it and do more of the larger brand things,
like a lifestyle type thing.
Lifestyle thing.
Yeah.
Because it's obvious that they can't keep up in the hardware race, and I don't even think that's where.
They don't care to.
They don't care to, and it's more now that they created a great like a playground that you want to play in.
Sure.
And if they give me the same Mario games, I'm excited about that. But it would be fun to see what does it look like? What's a Nintendo amusement ride look like?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's interesting because I'm not. There's kind of I have a virtual reality headset at home. Just in the past couple months, I got the PSVR, and I love it, and I can't wait to see like what happens next in that whole world. But this idea of like getting closer to, like I just this week did the Star Wars X-Wing thing, and like that's a more immersive experience, for a property that you love. Like, but I don't know, I would love to like play in Mario Land like in virtual reality. I would love to be in, Hyrule like in virtual reality. But I don't know that I want to go like in real life. That to me,
I would love an adult obstacle
weird.
course.
Yeah.
Like I like kind of like free running type stuff, but I would love an adult obstacle course of a Mario level.
But I would rather play that in VR. I don't know. That's a weird thing. I would rather play that in a virtual reality than an actual reality.
Well,
for some reason.
It's going to be a lot of mixed reality. I think that's what.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, maybe
the future of these theme parks is that mixed reality. But Harry Potter World, and I am a fan of Harry Potter. I haven't got a chance to go there yet, but that looks fun. Like that to me is fun. But Harry Potter is a little bit more of a passive experience. Mario's that running, jumping, dodging, kicking shells.
Yeah.
How does that translate to a theme park ride? Yeah. I mean, Mario Kart. They're going to have a Mario Kart ride.
I mean, that would be dope. I think what's crazy about this is I have not heard Nintendo and VR in the same sentence.
Right.
I mean, like without that's totally made up speculation or fantasy. And I think when you talk about these hardware wars, if if Sony and Nintendo are driving like a Ferrari and a Maserati,
Even Microsoft and Sony.
I'm sorry, yeah. If Microsoft and Sony are bringing, sports cars and high-end stuff, like Nintendo's just driving the Prius to work.
Yeah.
They're like,
Right.
whatever, man. It's a sensible car. And they go to get their stuff done.
Argue that Nintendo is way more valuable as a lifestyle brand than it is a gaming, because it has that.
They're a lot
child appeal.
Yeah, they're a lot closer to you compare them to Disney a lot, and I think that's right on.
I will say this in closing. I don't know how many people would go to a PlayStation land or an Xbox land over a Nintendo land. But
call.
let us know in the comments. Let us know what you think about that weird console. Am I being a cranky old man about it? The Sigma Retro Fakeytron. Or, I mean, I want it to work. I do, but let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you think about the Switch and the 3DS bugs. And would you go to Nintendo Land? If so, can we carpool? There's 3 of us. We will bring mixtapes.
Here we go.
I'm Phil Arrigo.
I'm Cooper.
And I'm Nicky G.
See you guys next time on Spacebar. Cooper, you seem so excited today, huh?
Thanks
You
for
got out of the
watching,
house.
everybody.
He got out of the house, everybody.
Oh, no.
It's a big day for me.
Now back in the basement.